My name is Natalie W. Rodriguez, 33 years old, and I work as a senior data analyst for a logistics company in Chicago. My boyfriend told me, "You're not someone I'd want to have children with." I replied, "I feel the same way." Then I ended the relationship right there, paid my portion of dinner, and walked away without a scene. Just a few days later, he was asking me for an apology, right as his secret plans came to light. My life is structured in a way that most people describe as calm. I wake up at 6, gym before work, home by 6 most evenings, usually cooking dinner while reviewing reports for the next day. I own a downtown condo that I bought on my own. No co-signers, no shared mortgage. It is clean, intentional, quiet. I prefer predictable growth over dramatic leaps, and I have never apologized for that. My boyfriend is Adrien, 31. We had been together just under 3 years, and for the last 14 months, he had been living with me in my condo. He works in event marketing, which means his schedule is louder than mine, his income more variable, his stories more colorful. From the outside, we looked stable. Dual income, shared routines, talk of someday marriage and kids, nothing formally planned, but nothing dismissed either. I covered the mortgage since it is my property. He contributed to groceries and smaller expenses. It felt balanced enough. The comment happened on a Tuesday night. We were at dinner with 2 of his coworkers, wine glasses half full, conversation drifting between client horror stories and office politics. At some point, the topic shifted to children. One of his coworkers joked about biological clocks and freezing eggs. Everyone laughed politely. Adrien took a sip of his wine, looked at me, then back at the table, and said casually, "I mean, Natalie is great and all, but she's not someone I'd want to have children with." There was that half second of silence where people wait to see if it is a joke. He did not laugh. His coworkers gave that uncomfortable, polite smile people use when they sense something inappropriate but do not want to get involved. I asked him calmly what he meant. He shrugged. "You're just too rigid sometimes, too practical. I'd want someone more dynamic as a mom." Dynamic. It was said like he was reviewing a resume. I thought about it for maybe 3 seconds. Not emotionally, logically. If the person you live with does not see you as someone worth building a family with, that is not a minor incompatibility. That is a structural one. So I nodded and said, "I feel the same way." The table went quiet again. Adrien blinked, clearly not expecting that response. I added, "If that's how you see me, then we probably shouldn't be together." I placed enough cash on the table to cover my portion, stood up, put on my coat, and walked out without raising my voice. I walked 3 blocks before checking my phone. 5 missed calls from Adrien, 2 texts. "Are you serious right now?" And "Stop being dramatic." That word told me everything I needed to know. Dramatic would have been yelling in the restaurant. Dramatic would have been arguing in front of his coworkers. I did neither. I removed myself from a situation where I had just been publicly downgraded. When I got back to the condo, he was not there yet. I did not pace. I did not cry. I assessed. He said he would not want children with me. We live together. This is my property. If he genuinely believes that, the relationship is already over. The only question was logistics. By the time he walked through the door 20 minutes later, I had already decided on a plan. He came in hot, purse drop equivalent for a man, keys hitting the counter too hard. What the hell was that? "You said I'm not someone you'd want to have children with," I replied evenly. "I agree." He rolled his eyes. "Oh my God, Natalie, it was a joke. You're so literal. This is exactly what I mean." "It wasn't framed as a joke," I said calmly, "and you clarified it." He laughed dismissively. "You're proving my point right now." I asked him directly, "Do you see a future with me that includes children?" He hesitated just for a second. That pause was more honest than anything else. "I mean, I don't know," he said finally. "Sometimes I think you're just too safe. I don't want boring." Boring. Not unstable, not unkind, boring. I nodded once. "Okay." He blinked. "Okay, what?" "Okay, then we're done." He stared at me like he genuinely believed I was bluffing. "You cannot be serious." I walked into the bedroom and pulled a suitcase from the closet. Not to leave, to pack his things. That is when the tone shifted. "Natalie, stop. Don't be ridiculous." I was not angry. I was not shaking. I was acting in alignment with what he said. "You don't see me as someone you'd build a family with," I said. "I'm not interested in auditioning for that role." He crossed his arms. "So that's it. 3 years and you just walk away." "Yes." Because the alternative is staying with someone who thinks I am a placeholder until something more dynamic comes along. He did not correct that. Instead, he said something careless that I would understand later. You're overreacting. You'll regret this. I did not answer. I kept folding his shirts. He followed me into the bedroom. We're not breaking up over one comment. You clarified it twice after I asked, I replied. He threw his hands up. Because you interrogated me like I was on trial. That was the pattern. Direct questions became aggression. His public downgrade became my sensitivity. I zipped the first suitcase and moved to the dresser drawers. He shifted tactics. So what? You're just kicking me out tonight. That's a fair logistical question, I said calmly. Your sister lives in Lincoln Park. You can stay there temporarily. His expression changed. Wait, you're serious? Yes. This is insane. No, I said. What's insane is staying with someone who just told me I'm not someone they'd want to build a future with. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. We live together. You can't just decide this unilaterally. It's my condo, I replied. You moved in 14 months ago. His jaw tightened. So I'm disposable now. You made it clear I am. That hit harder than anything else I had said. He switched angles. You're so cold. I'm decisive. You don't build a future with someone who publicly questions your suitability for it. He sat down on the edge of the bed, staring at the floor. You know what? Fine. Maybe I said it because sometimes I wonder if I settled. There it was. Settled. Not shouted. Not dramatic. Just honest. I did not flinch. If you feel like you settled, I said quietly, then you shouldn't stay. He looked up sharply. You're just going to let me say that and not fight for me? No. That confused him more than anger would have. Most of his past relationships had been loud, volatile, dramatic. I was not interested in persuading someone to want me. I don't compete for my own position in my relationship, I said. He stood up slowly, realizing something was shifting that he could not control. You're not even asking if there's someone else. I looked at him carefully. Is there? He hesitated. No. Too quick, too clean. It did not matter. If he felt like he settled, whether there was someone else or just the idea of someone else, the outcome was the same. He grabbed the suitcase. Fine, I'll go to my sister's. He paused at the door. You're going to regret this. I did not respond. When the door closed behind him, the condo felt quieter than it had in months. No anger, no panic, just clarity. I did not know yet that within 72 hours he would be asking me for an apology, and I definitely did not know that by then I would understand exactly why he said what he said at that dinner. But that first night alone, the silence did not feel like loss. It felt like alignment. The first night alone was quieter than people imagine. No music from his phone drifting out of the bathroom. No half-opened packages on the counter. No extra shoes by the door that weren't mine. Just the low hum of the refrigerator and the kind of silence that feels like a room finally telling the truth. I cleaned, not obsessively, just methodically. I cleared the bathroom drawer he used. I boxed the grooming products he left behind. I pulled his spare set of keys from the bowl by the entryway and set them in my office drawer. I changed the Wi-Fi password, not out of spite, out of closure. If you end something, you end it all the way, including the little access points people use to pretend nothing changed. At 10:47 p.m., my phone buzzed. Adrien. I let it ring. Then a text followed. Can we talk like adults? I read it twice because the irony was almost impressive. We had talked like adults. He just didn't like the outcome. The next morning, I went to work as usual. Routine is grounding, and I refused to let someone else's chaos rewrite my structure. Around noon, another message came through. I think you owe me an apology. That was new. I didn't respond. A minute later, he added, for humiliating me in front of my coworkers. I stared at the screen long enough for my annoyance to turn into clarity. He publicly questioned my suitability as a mother, then framed my quiet exit as an attack on his image. That told me the real wound wasn't what he said. It was that I didn't swallow it. He called again an hour later. This time I answered because I wanted to hear how he would spin it when he thought he had control of my attention. His tone was controlled but tight, like he was keeping himself in check for the sake of appearing reasonable. Natalie, this has gotten out of hand. It hasn't gotten out of hand, I said evenly. It ended. Oh, that's such a dramatic way to frame it, he replied instantly, like he had rehearsed that line. You said one thing at dinner and you just walked out. You said I'm not someone you'd want to have children with, I corrected calmly. Then you clarified it. I aligned my actions with that. He exhaled sharply. I said it jokingly. You're so literal. This is exactly what I meant. I asked you directly if you saw a future with me that includes children, I said. You hesitated, then you called me boring. Silence on his end, then he pivoted. I've been under pressure lately. Pressure from what? I asked, and I could hear the small hitch in his confidence because I wasn't taking the bait. Work, life, expectations, he said. Expectations about what? I pressed. And there was another pause, the kind of pause people take when they almost reveal the real thing and decide to hide it again. Nothing, he said quickly. It was subtle, but it landed wrong. The phrase didn't match the energy. The story didn't line up. Then he tried again, softer, like he was offering a reset button. Can we just pretend this didn't happen? No, I said. That one word shifted his tone completely. You're really serious, he said, and for the first time, the edge of panic crept in. Yes, I replied. He hung up. 2 hours later, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I almost ignored it. Then I answered, because I've learned that unexpected calls right after a breakup usually mean the truth is traveling faster than the story. It was Jenna, one of the coworkers from the dinner. Her voice was low and cautious. I don't want to get in the middle of this, she said, but I think you should know something. I stepped into my office and shut the door. Tell me. She's been telling people you stormed out because you can't handle adult conversations, Jenna said. I didn't storm out, I replied. I paid and left. I know, she said quickly. That's why I'm calling. What she said at dinner wasn't random. She's been talking like that for a while. Talking like what? I asked, and my chest tightened, not from hurt, from confirmation. Like she feels stuck, Jenna said. Like you're safe, stable, predictable, and she needs more. She used the phrase a long-term material when she was talking to Sophie last week. Long-term material. The phrasing hit like a ledger entry, like she was evaluating me for a role I didn't agree to audition for. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Because what she did last night felt like positioning, Jenna replied. Like she wanted witnesses. That sentence landed hard, not because it surprised me, but because it explained the odd confidence Adrien had when he said it, the way he said it like a test, the way he watched the table for reactions, the way he expected me to laugh it off. I thanked Jenna and ended the call. Then I sat still for a full minute and replayed the last day in my head. The apology demand, the pressure, the weird phrasing, the way he kept centering embarrassment instead of accountability. The comment at dinner wasn't just a slip. It was a move. At 4:12 p.m., he texted again. We need to talk tonight. I didn't reply. Another message followed. You can't just shut me out. I answered once and only once. Watch me. Then I blocked his number. No announcement, no speech, just blocked. Instagram blocked. WhatsApp blocked. Email filtered. If someone publicly downgrades you and then demands an apology for the fallout, you don't keep them in your orbit waiting for the next test. Around 6 p.m., my condo buzzer rang. I checked the camera. Adrien. I did not buzz him in. He called through the intercom like he still had authority here. Open the door. No, I said. Natalie, this is childish, he snapped. No, I replied evenly. This is boundaries. You can't block me and hide, he insisted. I'm not hiding, I said. I'm unavailable. There was a brief silence, then his tone sharpened, like he was reaching for leverage. You think you have the upper hand right now. This isn't about winning, I replied. Then what is it about? He demanded. Standards, I said. He scoffed. You're going to regret this when you find out the full story. That sentence froze in the air for a second. Well, what full story? I asked. He didn't answer directly. Just open the door. No, I repeated. And there was another long pause, then his voice dropped. Quieter, more frustrated, like he had misspoken and couldn't take it back. You were never supposed to hear it like that. Never supposed to hear what? I asked, but the line disconnected. I stood there in the hallway staring at the intercom, and the sentence replayed itself in my head like an alarm. You were never supposed to hear it. Like that wasn't something you say about a harmless joke. It wasn't even something you say about a bad night. It sounded like a miscalculation. And that was the moment I knew this wasn't just about kids. It was about control. I replayed his sentence all night. You were never supposed to hear it like that. The more I turned it over, the less it sounded like regret, and the more it sounded like strategy. You don't say that when you slip up. You say that when the outcome deviates from the script. The next morning, I followed my routine because routine keeps panic from inventing stories. Gym at 6, shower, coffee, laptop open by 9. But at 9:03 a.m., my personal email pinged with a message from Sophie, another one of his coworkers. I almost ignored it. Instead, I opened it. I know this isn't my place, she wrote, but I think you deserve clarity. Adrien didn't think you'd actually break up with him. He's been frustrated that you haven't proposed yet. He said sometimes men need a wake-up call. I leaned back in my chair slowly. A wake-up call. The email continued. He's been telling people for weeks that you're too cautious and that he might have to shake things up to get you moving. I didn't think he meant it like that. I'm sorry. There it was. The comment at dinner wasn't about incompatibility. It wasn't about doubt. It was leverage. He had been building an external narrative about us long before that night. He wanted me to feel unstable, to feel replaceable, to feel like I needed to prove myself. And I had done the one thing he never calculated. I agreed with him. I did not respond to Sophie immediately. I just sat there and let the entire week reassemble itself in a new shape. His tone at dinner, the audience, the hesitation, the way he emphasized dynamic, the way he watched my face. This wasn't a confession. It was bait. By 10:30 a.m., my building manager texted me, "Your boyfriend came by asking to be let in. I told him he's no longer on the access list." Good. At noon, a new email from him appeared in my inbox under a different address. This got out of control. I didn't mean it like that. I was trying to get you to show me you cared enough to fight. You were supposed to reassure me, not end everything. There it was in writing. You were supposed to. I read it once, then archived it. Documentation matters. An hour later, another email. You're being stubborn. Then another. You're ruining plans you don't even know about. That line made me stop. Ruining plans. What plans? I didn't respond. Instead, I called Sophie. She answered on the third ring. Was he planning to propose? I asked directly. There was a pause long enough to confirm everything before she even spoke. He told a few of us he thought December, she admitted. He said you were steady and safe and that sometimes women need pressure to realize what they might lose. Pressure. The word tasted sour. He told people I needed pressure, I repeated. Yes, she said quietly. He thought if you felt like you might lose him, you'd push for commitment. I thanked her and ended the call. He didn't question my future. He tried to accelerate it by destabilizing me. He publicly suggested I wasn't suitable for children to create insecurity. He assumed I'd panic, argue, fight for my place, prove my devotion. Instead, I removed him from it. At 3 p.m., another email arrived. I was scared you were getting too comfortable. Everyone kept asking when you were going to propose. I felt stupid. I panicked. No apology. Just justification. He wasn't sorry he disrespected me. He was sorry the tactic failed. At 4:30, he sent another message. We can still fix this. I'll tell everyone I misunderstood you. Misunderstood me. Not what he said. Me. That told me everything. He wanted to restore the narrative, not the relationship. I closed my laptop and called a locksmith. If someone is willing to manufacture instability to control a situation, you don't leave physical access in place. The locks were changed that evening. Not dramatic. Preventative. Around 8 p.m., he left a voicemail from yet another number. His voice was unsteady now, less rehearsed. I didn't think you'd actually walk away, he said. I was testing you. I needed reassurance. You failed the test. I saved the voicemail. Not because I was hurt, because clarity is useful. If someone tests you by threatening your future, they aren't looking for partnership. They're looking for control. And I don't participate in controlled environments. By Friday, the pressure didn't come from Adrien directly. It came from his orbit. First, his sister emailed me mid-morning. I don't know what he told you, but he's devastated. You blindsided him. I read that word twice. Blindsided. He publicly questioned our future in front of coworkers, and I was the one accused of shock tactics. I replied once. He said he wouldn't want children with me. I aligned my actions with that. Her response came quickly. That's not what he meant. He was frustrated. He just needed to see you fight for him. There it was again. Fight, as if love is measured in how loudly you defend your place. An hour later, his mother tried calling from a blocked number. I didn't answer. I knew the script already. He's under pressure. He didn't mean it. 3 years is too much to throw away. You both just need to talk. By early afternoon, a mutual friend texted me. Are you really ending it over one comment? He just wanted to see you care. That line almost made me laugh. Care. As if destabilizing someone publicly is an acceptable loyalty test. By 5 o'clock, I understood the full picture. Adrien had been telling people for months that I was too steady, too secure, too comfortable. He had apparently hinted that a proposal was coming by December. He built expectations in his circle. He let friends speculate. He let family assume. And when I didn't accelerate on his timeline, he tried to create urgency by manufacturing insecurity. It wasn't doubt. It was choreography. That evening, he emailed again. You're humiliating me by not responding. Humiliating. That word explained everything. He wasn't heartbroken. He was embarrassed. The script flipped. I didn't respond. An hour later, Sophie called me again. He's telling people you panicked because you're afraid of commitment, she said quietly. But the timeline doesn't make sense. If you were afraid, why would you end it so quickly? Exactly. If he wanted reassurance, I said slowly, he could have asked. That's not how he operates, she admitted. No, it wasn't. He didn't ask. He engineered. By Saturday, the messages stopped escalating and started thinning. The calls became fewer, the emails shorter, the tone less certain. Because something had shifted socially. When the story is, she overreacted, it works until people look at the sequence. He questions her future publicly. She leaves calmly. He demands an apology. He admits he was testing her. That narrative doesn't hold. Around noon, I got one last indirect message through his sister. He says if you unblock him, he'll apologize publicly and tell everyone he miscommunicated. There it was, an apology offered as negotiation. I didn't reply. Because apologies that require access are not apologies. They are transactions. Sunday morning arrived quiet. No new numbers. No new emails. No new attempts. I made coffee, opened my windows, and let the air move through the condo. The space felt lighter. Not because I won, because I no longer felt evaluated. 3 years ended in one sentence at dinner. But it wasn't about children. It was about leverage. He believed I was too stable to walk away. He believed I would fight to keep him. He believed I was safe. He was right about one thing. I am safe. For myself. And that is why I walked.